Alright, it looks like we've discovered an imposter. We have an infiltrator in our group, and that's a tennis ball flying that was thrown from the other side of the roof, probably with one of those ball throwers that you see people. It's a long plastic stick that cups the tennis ball and lets you throw it harder and faster and further. That's a tennis ball flying over the roof, and you can see the dog lurch in the direction of the tennis ball. The dog is running to fetch the tennis ball. There's the first pass, the second pass, the third pass. During one of these passes, there goes the dog, lurching in the direction of the tennis ball because he saw the tennis ball go and he's running to fetch it. So let me tell you something about one of the reasons I go so hard at Daniel Alexander Cannon. When the Notre Dame fire happened, he showed video from the Westin Hotel across the street. That's the only reason I know the name of the hotel across the street from Notre Dame, that has a video camera pointed at the Notre Dame Hotel. And it takes like a still frame every 5 minutes, so you can watch a time lapse of the Notre Dame throughout the day in like half hour or whatever. And in one of those frames, one of those pictures of Notre Dame, you could see a large black craft above the spire of Notre Dame Cathedral as the fire started. Let's just pause it right there. There's a large black craft, and it even looked triangular shape above Notre Dame Cathedral as the fire started. And that was visible from the camera at the Westin Hotel. And Daniel captured this. And for a while, you could go online and you could just zip to the very timestamp that he shows you at, 6 hours, 23 minutes, and go right to that frame and see this big black craft right above Notre Dame as the fire is starting. So, this is all leading up to why they would insert someone in my midst to befriend me, to throw a poison pill, a poison ingredient into the brain gravy that I'm simmering over here. And the reason I trusted Johnny Looks Overhead, because he made a video showing the plasma fire, showing a few clips from my plasma fire videos, putting up captions on it saying, Jeff's a man on a mission with a message and everyone needs to listen, and all this shit. It's kind of like the spooks that want to decapitate a country and take down the president or whatever. So they send in a woman agent to befriend his wife. And they have this woman meet her at the store and just start up a conversation out of nowhere, and it becomes one of the friends of the wife of the president in order to get close to that guy, in order to take him out. So Johnny Looks Overhead somehow ends up getting my attention, and then making a plasma fire video and insinuating himself into my good graces in order that he can make a video like this throwing a tennis ball to discredit the Black Dot Craft collection that I have acquired. Knowledge is power, and there is even greater power during the time when you have that knowledge and your neighbors do not have that knowledge. There is the inherent power, and then the added power of the differential between you knowing and your neighbor not knowing. Let's just take fire, the discovery of fire. The knowledge of how to create and control fire, regular fire, has an inherent power of its own. You can warm your house, you can cook your food, you can light your village. But if your neighboring tribe doesn't know how to start fire, you can run over there and bang let's just say caveman figured out how to bang some rocks together and start a fire. And one tribe of cavemen knows how to start fires and the other tribe doesn't. You can threaten and leverage your knowledge of this power of how to start fire over your neighbors. Tell them, you do what we say and we'll help cook your food and light your villages and warm your houses. And if you don't do what we say, we'll burn your village down because you don't know how to start fires and we do. So the fire in and of itself has its own inherent power of warming and lighting and cooking, and it has an increased added power during that time of the differential of the knowledge when you know how to do it and your neighbors don't. So regarding these Black Dot Craft, Whoever has this power and this knowledge of cloaking and anti-gravity technology has a distinct advantage over those who do not. But if I keep running my pie hole over here and showing these things like Mr. Deadeye Customs and Custodian Files, and other people catch on and they figure out how to detect these craft, because right now, whoever's running these craft can go in and do the job and sneak in and sneak out and no one ever even knows that we were there. But if they somehow figure out, oh, you just take a camera at 60 frames per second or higher and slow it down and you can see these things, well then they lose that advantage and that ability to go in and do the job undetected and get out without ever being seen. So that explains why they might insert someone into my proximity in order to put this poison pill into the brain gravy that I'm over here simmering to poison the whole stew. Once I throw something like this in the mix and people see this and go, get the hell out of here, that's a tennis ball. So big thanks to Planetary Protector for bringing this to my attention. Maybe he painted the ball black, it doesn't matter. That's a tennis ball. The dog is chasing the tennis ball and I fell for it. And that's really the part that really sucks here, because I've seen so much that's outside of our known reality, from plasma fire, airborne aircraft carrier, black dot craft, the sun tunnel. Nothing would surprise me. I'll believe just about anything these days. And when someone who I seem to have developed a trust for, who seems like a genuine person, is the guy giving me the bullshit, I'm not very skeptical. Now I'm going to have to be more skeptical and cynical and not trust and believe people and think everyone's out to trick me, which is the stereotypical schizophrenia of a truther with their tinfoil hat and thinks everyone's out to trick you, everyone's out to pull one over on you, and you're just too paranoid. Well, apparently I'll have to be a little bit more skeptical and cynical of people from this point forward. The reason I know that Custodian Files and Deadeye Customs are not inserting these things because I've taken this video myself. And you can see 3 of these black dot craft. One of them appears the whole time right there. And at certain points during the first 50 seconds of this video, you can see 2 more down and to the left and down and to the right. But one of them is clearly there the whole time. And the other 2 have some sort of cloaking device where you can only see them part of the time. Now I zoom in past it right there, and then I zoom back out and it's still floating there in the sky. That's not a bug. That's not a bird. That's clearly floating there right in the middle of the sky. And I'll just let it play for another minute. You'll see the other 2 appear. There's one starting to appear below it and to the right. And just before I switch to the next scene, all 3 of them become more clear. You seen it blink in and out right there? Wait for it. You'll be able to see 3 of them, where that one there. Now there's one down and to the right that's appearing. Now you see 2. Now you see all 3. So the other 2, here you can see all 3. The main one that's visible the whole time, up top, it's darker, it seems a little bigger. And then the other 2, one right here and one right here, these ones come in and out of view throughout the video. But when they come into view, there are others that become visible. One here. Come on, where's some more? I've counted up to 16. There's another one here. There's one up here, just above the power lines. There's one over here in this bottom corner. Right, so here we have the 3 up top, 1 down here. I can't hardly even reach it with my finger. 1 here, 1 here. And there are others that can be seen throughout the video. I think we've already shown you this one over here. So whoever's running these things doesn't want to lose their ability to run them undetected, covertly. So here you can see the main one up here. And we're going to push play, and you know where to look and what you're looking for. So to the people that say, oh, those are bugs, when I see them myself, then I'll believe it. I took this video myself. I didn't insert anything into it. And I've done other videos showing that there are others of these moving throughout the sky. During the remainder, at about 50 seconds, I cut to another scene, and I'm driving along the road, and there's at least a few other places in this video that I took all the same day in the same area, where you can see these things flying around in the sky. I'd have to dig that video up, and honestly, I'm not really concerned about who believed. There you go, when it's like, there's certain spots where those become more visible and other spots where they're less visible. And now as I'm driving down the road, there's places where you can see these little black dots zipping through the sky. I've made that analysis before. I've shown that video before. But right here, you can see they come into view and go out of view. Right now, you can only see the one black dot. At some point, the one right below it becomes very, very clear, and then kind of fades away again. And then the one beside it becomes clear. Wait till the one below it becomes very clear. Right, wait for it. It's coming into view just barely. There's a spot where it's very visible, just about as visible as the top one. Wait for it. Wait for it. There. Oh, it flashed into view. Wait for it. Come on. There we go. Now the one below it's just as visible. So this is why they might send someone into my midst to try to discredit the collection of black dot craft that I've collected by throwing a tennis ball over a roof and going, ooh, look, it's a black dot, black dot. That same technology was used during the Notre Dame fire. And Daniel Alexander Cannon of Logic Before Authority found the picture from the Westin Hotel across the street, which has since been scrubbed. But at the time, I was able to go directly to the online video of the Westin Hotel, go to that timestamp, and see that big black dot craft above the spire of the building, right as the beginning of the fire started. Not halfway through it, right at the beginning when it started. So you know you're over the target when you start catching the most flack coming up from the ground. Someone else threw a red herring in front of me regarding plasma fire a couple weeks back. And then once I came to realize it was a fake, I had to do this same kind of video. But some of these things are not fake. That's the reason for the fakes, is to cover up for the real videos. One fake video discredits 1,000 real videos. So, Mr. Johnny, hope you got a good price on your soul. Whatever they paid you for it, it's going to cost you dearly in the end. And the same idea about maintaining that power differential between the time when some people have discovered plasma firepower and the general public is unaware of it, extending that time period in order to enhance the power that is granted to those who understand and know and utilize this power, as exemplified by the Department of Defense Secretary Mark Esper confirming that directed energy weapons have been built and they produce long-range fires, And then you have James True over here beating people over the head with the very blue herring that I told you guys not to fall for. So let's listen to 2 minutes of this presentation from the Defense Secretary.
Everyone, I'm Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. It's an honor to join you for this year's Air, Space, and Cyberspace Conference. Thank you to the Air Force Association for hosting an important event that brings together the world's finest aerospace leaders and professionals. First and foremost, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to the United States Air Force. For 73 years and counting, you have provided our nation with unlimited reach, unmatched power, and unyielding vigilance across the globe. As we look toward the next 7 decades and beyond, emerging technologies are fundamentally altering the character of warfare. Our air, space, and cyber personnel will be at the forefront of tomorrow's high-end fight. In the years ahead, wars will be fought not just on land and sea, as they have for thousands of years, or in the air as they have for the past century, but also in outer space and cyberspace in unprecedented ways. Preparing for this requires modernizing our force for high-intensity conflict. It requires strengthening our network of allies and partners, and it requires expanding our warfighting capabilities across all 5 of these domains. In this era of great power competition, we cannot take for granted the United States' long-held advantages. The Air Force, in particular, has maintained uncontested air superiority for decades with persistent intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and precision airstrikes anytime, anywhere. However, our near-peer rivals, China and Russia, seek to erode our long-standing dominance in air power through long-range fires, anti-access aerial denial systems, and other asymmetric capabilities designed to counter our strengths. Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more in an effort to exploit our systems and chip away at our military advantage.
So he just acknowledged space-based directed energy weapons and long-range fires that are some of the capabilities of these. He just put it in reverse. He said the long-range fires, and then, meanwhile, in space, they've developed directed energy weapons.
However, our near-peer rivals, China and Russia, seek to erode our long-standing dominance in air power through long-range fires, anti-access aerial denial systems, and other asymmetric capabilities designed to counter our strengths. Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more in an effort to...
I want to make stuff. I don't want to bitch about things. I don't want to put fear in your mind about things. I don't want to make promises to you about things. I don't want to suggest things that are more nefarious than you think about to make you go, oh my God, maybe it's this, and maybe the laser beam's this. I know that some of you are probably looking for that, and that's probably why my subscriber count doesn't go up, because I don't want to do that. I just don't. Look, if another eugenics sweep comes through and they're like going this whole thing and I need to tell you things, hey, I think we should question this and question that. Yeah, I will do that. I will. I've shown that. I've shown my resiliency, right? But I can't just make this stuff up. I can't do that. Where are the truthers going back going, hey guys, I told you that the blue buildings deflect. You know, what happened is that I read that on eBay that a blue laser pointer is more expensive than the green and the red. And on YouTube, because I did that, the algorithm spit out something and actually said, look how powerful this blue laser pointer is. And so then they showed a picture and there was like a couple people paint their houses blue in Hawaii. Because it's fucking Hawaii. That's not weird. It's not. It's Hawaii, right? And I could be having resiliency on creating my own illusion, or I could say that a secret fucking death ray from space is obliterating homes, and the only thing that you could do to save yourself is to paint your house blue. I could tell you that. And I could show you some 3-minute clips of some people really being fucking tools, by the way. The Maui on the street reporters that are rushing in demanding, oh, you need to tell me how many of the people that died in the fire were children. And the fire chief's like, Uh, I don't. Dude, this just happened. I don't know. Oh, so you don't know? So you're hiding the fact that there's no children? It's like, no, that's not what I'm. What about the blue laser beams? What do you mean? What about the blue laser beams? It's like the driest, arid land right now. We've zero forest management policy because we're fucking tribal. We fucking love this land. And if you love the land, you're not going to groom it, which is beautiful. Do you know what happens when you don't groom it? It fucking bursts with fire. It blooms with fire. Fire is a flower. Fire is a flower in this world. And I know that you want a story about how it's planned and they did this strategically and they wanted to save blue buildings. They want to do that. And I don't have that for you. That illusion is not resilient for me.
So, he's painting everyone with the same blue brush. Anyone who notices that the houses are gone and the cars are melted right next to unburned foliage, you're one of those blue building, blue laser beam conspiracy theorists, and this is just a natural fire, and that's just what naturally happens. Fire's a flower and it just blooms. So what he's showing you is that he's a counterintelligence agent, and on some operations, like C-19, he will come out and in opposition and try to undermine that operation, but other operations, he's there to try and keep quiet. See, it doesn't matter if other intelligence agencies and militaries know about these directed energy weapons. It's the general public we want to keep unaware of it, and the same goes for the invisible black dot craft. That way we can sneak in, sneak out, and say it was just a natural fire. But once the general public becomes aware of these plasma fires and can detect the burn signatures that I've been documenting and cataloging for the last 5 years, then when one of these happens, we can't just say, oh, it was a flower that bloomed, it's nature. So, in this effort, they prolong the power differential. When you know about plasma fire, but the general public is unaware of it, you can use it and tell them it was natural fire. Some instances are provably directed energy, like the 5 Secret Service vehicles of Joe Biden's, like the Paradise, California, where you got Cal Fire standing on top of one of their fire trucks with a .50 caliber rifle. That was definitely an operation. And most likely Maui as well. The other option, the other reason they might want to keep this under wraps is if it is a natural phenomenon like geomagnetic induction, as part of the weakening magnetic field and the increased solar radiation that's penetrating, in order to keep the people calm, because if they knew what was happening, they would be out of control and ungovernable. So we must keep them in the dark and unaware of these fires that are burning things from the inside out, melting cars, and completely leveling houses right next to unburned trees and bushes, and make fun of them and call them idiots for believing in that, and associate anyone who can see the abnormalities with this blue herring that was put out about blue houses and blue laser beams. It's called gaslighting. Right in front of your face, making fun of you and insulting you and demeaning you and belittling you and degrading you for being able to see the obvious truth. So on some operations, he'll come out and say, hey, yeah, this doesn't look right and that doesn't look right. But on other operations, he's on the team that wants to maintain and prolong this ignorance of the general public of these, as the defense secretary said, directed energy weapons in space that are capable of producing long-range fires. Likewise, there are operations and agencies that might put out counterintelligence efforts to dilute and pollute and poison the well of information about these black dot craft that Custodian Files and Deadeye Customs and myself have cataloged into a library and insert some fake shit like a tennis ball in order to discredit all of the rest of the information that's held within that library, to prolong that ability to have that power with the inherent power and the added power of the knowledge differential when people don't even know these things exist. Or eventually, the public will come to be able to detect these black dot craft and detect these plasma fires and see the burn signatures and recognize what it is they're looking at. So in order to keep that under wraps, let's send out some agents to be able to discredit those who are able to see it.